The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. Welcome to the Act 150 program webinar. I'm John Detman from the Office of Long-Term Living in the Bureau of Policy and Program Regulation.
I'm Chris Bernard in the Bureau of Policy and Regulation.
We ask if you have any questions that you use the question function on the webinar information, and we'll begin with the webinar. Some background regarding the Act 150 program. Pennsylvania's Attendant Care Program began as a state-funded program in 1987 as a result of the Attendant Care Services Act, Act 1986-150. It's commonly known as Act 150. It established the attendant care services for those mentally alert but severely physically disabled who are in the greatest risk of being in an institutional setting. It enables adults 18 through 59 years of age who are mentally alert and have physical disabilities to perform activities of daily living such as eating, personal hygiene, and transporting themselves. Using state funding, in addition to the participants' own resources, the Act 150 program assists eligible individuals in obtaining assistance for personal assistance services, PASS workers, and completing tasks in order to lead more independent lifestyles. The Act 150 program falls under the authority of 55 PA Code Chapter 52. The goals. Services are designed to support eligible adults in improving their quality of life by achieving one or more of the following goals. Enabling participants to live in the most integrated community setting as independently as possible. Enabling participants to remain in their homes and preventing unnecessary admission to nursing facilities or other institutional settings. Enabling participants to seek and or maintain employment. Eligibility. To be eligible for the Act 150 program, a person shall meet all the following criteria. Be between the ages of 18 through 59. Be mentally alert and capable of selecting, supervising, and if needed, firing a PASS worker, managing one's own financial affairs, and managing one's own legal affairs. Medically determinable physical impairment that can be expected to last for a continuous period of not less than 12 months. Because of the physical impairment or impairments, requires assistance to complete functions of daily living, self-care, and mobility. Must be capable of directing his or her own care, and found in need of basic services on the basis of an assessment. They must be a citizen of the United States or an immigrant lawfully admitted for permanent residence. They need to be a resident of Pennsylvania or be a resident of another state and intend to relocate to Pennsylvania and remain permanently or indefinitely at the time of applying for services. They must participate in the eligibility process for medical assistance, MA, Medicaid attendant care waiver for attendant care services, and be found ineligible. The nursing facility clinically eligible, NFCE, other than participants who were determined to be nursing facility ineligible, NFI, and were enrolled prior to November 5th, 2013. Any participant enrolled after November 5th, 2013, who is later determined to be NFI, is to be disenrolled. A level of care determination, LCD, is administered during the participant's annual reevaluation. The participant who is under age 60 and NFCE and becomes financially eligible for the attendant care waiver will be enrolled in the waiver to receive services. A participant who is over age 60 and NFCE and becomes financially eligible for a waiver will be enrolled in the Aging Waiver Program. Eligibility determination. The Independent Enrollment Broker, IEB, facilitates program eligibility determinations for the Act 150 program. They're responsible for the initial in-home visit and begin to complete initial needs assessment. Educate individuals on rights and responsibilities, opportunities for self-direction, appeal rights, Services and Supports Directory, SSD, a right to choose from any qualified provider. They provide the applicant with choice of receiving nursing facility services, waiver services, Act 150 services, or no services. They document the applicant's choice on the OLTL Freedom of Choice form. The IEB also provides applicants a list of qualified service coordination entities, SCEs, documents the applicant's choice of SCE on the OLTL Service Provider Choice form, assists the applicant to obtain a completed physician certification form, refers the applicant to the entity responsible for performing the LCD, assists the participant to complete financial eligibility determination paperwork, and facilitates transfer of the new enrollee to their selected SCE, including sending copies of all completed assessments and forms. It is not the SC's responsibility to determine eligibility for services. It is the responsibility of an applicant and participant to cooperate in providing the verifications listed above. Services and provider qualifications. Services available through the Act 150 program are designed to enable individuals to live more independently in their homes and communities. They are service coordination, personal assistance services, PASS, financial management services, FMS, personal emergency response system, PERS. Services will be provided to meet the participant's needs as determined by an assessment and as outlined in the participant's service plan. All other resources should be exhausted before Act 150 services are initiated, including those provided under third-party benefits. Service coordination. Service coordination identifies, coordinates, and assists participants to gain access to needed services and supports. They are medical, social, housing, educational, and other as determined. Service coordinators, SCs, provide information to participants and facilitate access, locate, coordinate, and monitor needed services and support. Service coordination services are regulated by 55 Code PA, 55 PA Code Chapter 52, Section 26, and SC qualifications and training are regulated by the same chapter, Section 5227.
Morning. Personal assistance services, PASS. PASS are intended to assist the individual to complete tasks, the daily living that would be performed independently if the individual had no disability. Basic and ancillary services that enable an eligible person to remain in their home and community and to carry out functions of daily living, self-care, and mobility, and provides hands-on assistance as specified in the service plan to participants who reside in a private home, necessary to enable the participant to integrate more fully into the community and ensure the health, welfare, and safety of the participant. Past basic services include assistance with activities of daily living, ADLs, to include eating, bathing, dressing, and personal hygiene. Getting in and out of bed, wheelchair and or motor vehicle. Preparation, feeding and cleanup. Health maintenance activities. Routine supports such as meal planning, keeping medical appointment, and other health regimens. Assistance in implementation of prescribed therapies. Overnight pass to provide intermittent or ongoing awake overnight assistance to a participant in their home for up to 8 hours. Overnight pass requires the staff to be awake. Ancillary pass. If a participant is assessed as needing one or more of the basic services, the following services may be provided if they are ancillary to the basic services and assure the health, welfare, and safety of the participant. Ancillary services include homemaker type services, companion type services, accompanying the participant into the community for purposes related to personal care, and assistance with cognitive tasks. May only be funded through the Act 150 program when the services are not available by any other source, including but not limited to private insurance or Medicare. Ancillary pass costs incurred by the pass worker while accompanying the participant into the community are not reimbursable as pass. Transportation costs associated with the provision of pass outside the participant's home are not included in the scope of pass. Activities ancillary to the delivery of pass are provided only when neither the participant nor anyone else in the household is capable of performing or financially providing for them, or where no other source is capable of or responsible for their provision. Basic and ancillary services shall be broken out and documented in the service notes in the Home and Community Home and Community Services Information System, HCSIS. Services available through the Act 150 program are subject to the availability of funds. Personal Emergency Response System, PERS. PERS is an electronic device which enables participants secure help in an emergency. The system is connected to the person's phone and programmed to signal a response center once a help button is activated. The individual may also wear a portable help button to allow for mobility. And the response center is staffed by trained professionals 24 hours a day, every day of the year. PERS services. PERS services are limited to those individuals who live alone, are alone for significant parts of the day as determined in consideration of their health status, disability, risk factors, support needs, and other circumstances, live with an individual that may be limited in their ability to access a telephone quickly when a participant has an emergency, or would otherwise require extensive in-person routine monitoring and assistance. Installation, repairs, monitoring, and maintenance are included in this service. All PERS installed are to be certified as meeting standards for safety and use. Organizations shall have capacity to provide 24-hour coverage by trained professionals every day of the year. Financial Management Services, FMS, or Consumer-Directed Pass. FMS consists of acting as the participant's agent in performing payroll and other employer responsibilities that are required by federal and state law in accordance with OLTL's Procured Fiscal Employer Agent, FEA, contract requirements. The FEA contractor is an Internal Revenue Service approved FEA, and the FEA provides specific employer agent functions that support the participant with the employer-related functions. The FEA shall provide accurate and timely reports monthly to common law employers, service coordinators, and OLTL. Reports include service utilization, written notification of over and underutilization, and notification of any common law employer who does not submit timesheets for 2 or more consecutive payroll periods. FEA responsibilities: enroll participants in FMS and apply for, receive approval from the IRS to act as an agent on behalf of the participant. Provide orientation and skills training on required documentation for all directly hired PASS workers, including completion of federal and state forms, completion of timesheets, good hiring and firing practices, establishing work schedules, developing job descriptions, training and supervision of PASS workers, effective management of workplace injuries, and workers' compensation. FEA responsibilities are to establish, maintain, and process records for all participants and PASS workers, conduct criminal background checks, and, when applicable, child abuse clearances on potential employees, assist participants in verifying PASS workers' citizenship or alien status, distribute, collect, and process PASS worker timesheets as verified and approved by the participant, prepare and issue PASS workers' payroll checks as approved in the participant's ISP, and withhold, file, and deposit federal, state, and local income taxes. Also, secure workers' compensation for all PASS workers through the appropriate agency, process all judgments, garnishments, tax levies, or any related holds on PASS workers' pay as may be required by federal, state, or local laws, prepare and disperse IRS forms, W-2s, and/or 1099s, wage and tax statements, and related documentation annually, assist in implementing the state's quality management strategy related to FMS, and establish an accessible customer service system for the participant and the service coordinator.
Limitations on the provision of services. Provided only to persons determined eligible by the appropriate enrollment entity, prospective participants shall exhaust all other sources of service prior to receiving Act 150 services. If a participant loses Medicaid waiver eligibility due to an increase in income or resources, he or she may apply for Act 150 and be subject to the provisions of the Act 150 program and the OLTL waiting list if a waiting list exists. A participant may not be enrolled in Act 150 if there is still an active, timely appeal regarding waiver services underway. The opportunity to apply for the Act 150 program upon loss of Medicaid waiver financial eligibility does not apply to persons 60 years of age and over. Act 150 does not pay for services provided by spouse of a participant, legal guardian, active power of attorney of the participant. Family members who provide PASS shall meet the same provider qualifications as individuals working for agencies to provide PASS to non-relatives. Aside from spouse, legal guardian, and power of attorney, there are no restrictions to the types of family members who may provide PASS. Provider qualifications. We have developed a chart here to list qualifications for personal assistance services provided through a home care agency, a consumer-directed pass, and a PERS agency. A home care agency needs to be licensed by the PA Department of Health under the code and chapter listed there under Act 69. They must also comply with 55 PA Code Chapter 1101 and have a signed Medicaid waiver Act 150 agreement, provider agreement. That applies to all three on this chart. They must comply with the department standards, regulations, and policies and procedures relating to provider qualifications included in 55 PA Code Chapter 52. That applies to all three of these services. They need to ensure that employees are trained to meet the unique needs of the participant and provide staff training pursuant to 55 PA Code Chapter 52. And that is listed as provided to the home care agencies. They must have a service location in PA or a state contiguous to PA. Again, this provision is required of home care agencies and PERS agencies. Workers' compensation insurance in accordance with the state statute and in accordance with department policies applies to all of the services listed here. Commercial general liability insurance is needed for the home care agencies and the PERS agency. Professional liability errors and omissions insurance is needed for the home care agencies. And PERS agencies are required to provide a 24-hour coverage by trained professionals every day of the year. Employee and worker qualifications. Must be 18 years of age or older, applies to any of the services here, the PASS, CD PASS, and PERS. Be a citizen or qualified resident alien, applies to the PASS service providers. Possess a valid Social Security number, applies to both PASS and consumer-directed PASS. Be a resident of PA or a contiguous state, again, both agency PASS and consumer-directed PASS. Have a valid driver's license from Pennsylvania or a contiguous state if necessary to provide service. PASS and CD PASS. Automobile insurance for any automobiles owned, leased, or hired when used as a component of the service, listed as a requirement under consumer-directed PASS. Must possess basic math, reading, and writing skills provided for both agency and consumer-directed PASS. Need to complete training or demonstrate competency by passing a competency test as outlined in Section 611.55 under Title 28, Part 4, Subpart H of the Healthcare Facilities Act. This is in regard to agency-provided PASS. Complete any necessary pre- or in-service training related to the participant's service plan. Again, this is for agency PASS. Employee and worker qualifications continued. They have the required skills to perform PASS as specified in the participant service plan. That would be any PASS worker, agency, or consumer-directed. Be able to demonstrate the capability to perform health maintenance activities specified in the participant service plan or receive necessary training. This is applied to the consumer-directed PASS. They agree to carry out outcomes included in the participant service plan for both agency and consumer-directed PASS. Submit to and pass criminal background checks as required by 55 PA Code Chapter 52, and that's Section 52.19. That pertains to PASS, agency PASS, and consumer-directed PASS. Have criminal background clearances as per 35 PS section 1025.101. That applies to the PERS agent. Child abuse clearance under qualifications. Child abuse clearance requirements pertain to Chapter 63 of 23 PA CS Chapter 63. That applies to agency pass, CD pass, and PERS agencies. They're required to, for all direct care workers and service providers, including SCs and contractors, providing services in a home where children under 18 years of age reside. Certificates are required prior to providing services in homes where children reside. And there is a criminal history report from PA State Police. We have a link on the PowerPoint. There is a form listed that is necessary. There's a fingerprint-based federal criminal history submitted through the Pennsylvania State Police or its authorized agent, the FBI. Again, there we have a link on the PowerPoint related to that. And the child abuse history certification from DHS, child abuse. And there's a link on there as well. For workers required to have clearances, written results are required prior to the employee or provider initiating services in the participant's home. Beginning July 1, 2015, certifications must be obtained every 60 months regardless of the service model. Certain certifications issued prior to July 1st, 2015 must be renewed within 60 months of the date of the oldest certification, or if the certification is older than 60 months. Child abuse clearance requirements continue. Any arrest for or conviction of an offense that would constitute grounds for denying employment or participating in a program, activity, or service, or is named as a perpetrator in a founded or indicated report must be disclosed to the administrator or their designee by written notice not later than 72 hours after the arrest, conviction, or notification that the person has been listed as a perpetrator in the statewide database. Willful failure to disclose information as required is a misdemeanor of the 3rd degree and shall be subject to discipline up to and including termination or denial of employment. This again applies to agency pass workers, CD pass, and PERS workers. The agency shall maintain copies of all required information. The fiscal employer agent, FEA, is responsible for securing clearances for prospective support service workers and must have a system to conduct that clearance and document those clearances were conducted. OLTL reviews provider personnel records as part of the biennial monitoring. In addition, OLTL may review records as necessary during incident report investigations or other circumstances as warranted. Service coordination entity qualifications. Qualifications are listed here. It complies with 55 PA Code Chapter 1101 and have a signed Medicaid waiver / Act 150 provider agreement. Complies with the department standards, regulations, and policies and procedures relating to provider qualifications under 55 PA Code Chapter 52. Meet the conflict-free requirements pursuant to 55 PA Code Chapter 52, and those will be in sections 52.27 and 52.28. automobile insurance for any automobiles owned, leased, and or hired while used as a component of the service location in Pennsylvania or state contiguous to Pennsylvania. Have workers' compensation and insurance in accordance with state statute in accordance with the department policies. Have commercial general liability insurance, and ensure employees are trained to meet the unique needs of the participant. That is communication, mobility, and behavioral needs. Further qualifications are that they must comply with and meet all standards applied through each phase of the standard annual department performed monitoring process, ensure 24-hour access to service coordination personnel via direct employees or a contract for response to emergency situations that are related to service coordination service or Act 150 services. Have sufficient professional staff to perform the needed assessment and / reevaluation, service coordination, and service activities. Have a registered nurse consulting services available either by a staffing arrangement or through a contracted consulting arrangement. C55 PA Code Chapter 52, Section 52.27 for service coordinator qualifications and training.
Service planning. The service plan regulations can be found in 55 PA Code Chapter 52, Section 52.25, and current OLTL Bulletin on individual service plan development, review, and implementation. Service coordinator functions include providing information, program services, program sliding fee scale, and participant responsibilities related to paying appropriate fees, fair hearing and appeal rights, and assist with requests. Facilitating access, referrals to the AAA for annual reevaluation or more frequently as determined of the LCD. And assist participant for timely completion of needed activities to maintain eligibility. Service coordinator coordinates, prompts, and ensures participant engagement in completion of the needs assessment, person-centered planning approach, and team process to develop the participant's service plan, ensuring services and supports are integrated into the community, include opportunities for employment or work in an integrated setting, participants are engaged in community life, participants control personal resources, and participants receive services in the community, same as individuals not receiving disability-related services. Coordinate, prompt, and ensure the individual rights of privacy, dignity, and respect, and freedom from coercion and restraint. Strategies for conflict or disagreement resolution. Participant is availed information, referral, and assistance in locating services, and actively coordinates with others essential in the physical and or behavioral care delivery for seamless coordination of services. Service coordinator functions continued for monitoring, to respond to and assess emergency situations and incidents, assure that appropriate actions taken in accordance with department policy on critical incident management, review, monitor, and initiate provider documentation of service provisions, participant progress and outcomes, and service plan team discussions or meetings when services not achieving desired results, solicit input as to service satisfaction, and monitor continuity of services, system adaptability, utilization of facilities and resource, accessibility and participant rights, participate in department identified activities related to quality oversight, and services are delivered in a manner that supports the participants' communication needs. Backup plans, emergency preparedness. For guidance on individual backup plans and emergency preparedness plans, see 55 PA Code, Chapter 52, Section 52.25, Service Plan, and the current OLTL Bulletin on ISP development, review, and implementation. Evaluations. On the initial evaluation, the local AAA conducts an initial LCD. The participant's physician completes the physician certification. IAB completes certain sections of the Care Management Instrument, CMI, or Needs Assessment. And the Service Coordinator completes the unfinished sections of the CMI at the initial Service Plan Development meeting. For reevaluation, conducted at least once per year within 365 days of the first LCD. The AAA administers an LCD at request of the Service Coordinator. Service Coordinator may request LCD more frequently if needed. A physician's certification, a CMI completed by the Service Coordinator, and financial eligibility determination. If eligible for waiver, participant will be moved into waiver. If not financially eligible for waiver and is NFCE, it may remain in Act 150. Results of reevaluation used to update and modify the participant's ISP. LCD and CMI compared to previous initial or reevaluation to identify any changes. Information assists the Service Coordinator in making appropriate adjustments to the ISP. Results are reviewed with the participant. If no changes are warranted, the Service Coordinator shall sign the ISP. If changes are warranted, a new ISP will be completed and signed by the Service Coordinator and the participant. And the Service Coordinator enters summary of reevaluation into HCSIS. As a result of the needs assessment, Service Coordinator may reduce or terminate services or the participant no longer requires. The Service Coordinator shall document facts supporting the change, provide the participant 30 days advanced written notice of the change, explains the change, explains facts supporting the change, explains appeal rights and participants' rights to continue receiving the service unchanged pending outcome of an appeal, and the appeal must be filed within 10 days of the postmark date of the Service Coordinator's notice. For participant admission to a hospital or other institution, the Service Coordinator conducts an assessment of need and adjusts the service plan accordingly prior to release from the hospital or other institution. Works with the discharge planner on changes to the service plan to ensure that all other resources available to the participant are accessed. The participant may remain enrolled in Act 150 for a 180-day calendar period when subsequently placed in a nursing facility or an intermediate care facility for other related conditions, ICF-ORC. Also applies to short-term admission to a hospital. Service coordinators cannot provide or authorize any services, including ancillary services, during a nursing facility, ICF/ORC, or hospital stay. Participant direction. Participants have the right to make decisions about their service and self-direct their services, encouraged to self-direct service to the highest degree, and may choose to self-direct some or all services at any time. Choose to hire and manage staff using the employer authority. Participant is responsible to direct the activities of their past worker. Under employer authority, They're responsible to hire past worker, firing past worker, training past worker, supervising past worker, and scheduling past worker. Budget authority or service my way is not available in Act 150. Self-direction. Participants develop their ISP in conjunction with the service coordinator. Service coordinators offer provider-managed until individual past workers are hired. Service coordinators work with participants to ensure continuity of services when the participant chooses to change service model. Employer authority model, participant receives support from the FEA and service coordinators. During the implementation and management of the ISP, the service coordinator assists participants to gain information and access to necessary services, advise, train, and support the participant as needed and necessary, develop an individualized backup plan, identify risk, potential risk, and develop a management plan, monitors provisions of services, assist participant understand common law employer agreement, and assist participant to secure training of past workers who deliver services requiring technical skills and require guidance from healthcare professionals such as an RN. Rights and responsibilities. Service coordinators and providers are responsible for ensuring that participant rights and responsibilities are maintained. Reference the current OLTL CBS waiver participant informational materials bulletin and subsequent additions at the below listed site. Critical incident management. Incident reporting. Critical events are referred to as critical incidents and defined as an incident that jeopardizes the participant's health and welfare. 2 OLTL bureaus are involved in the oversight of the incident management process. The Bureau of Quality and Provider Management, BQPM, and the Bureau of Participant Operations, BPO. Individuals or entities that are required to report critical incidents should see 55 PA Code 52, Section 52.17, and the current Critical Incident Management Bulletin issued by OLTL at the below listed address. Protective services. Services coordinators and providers are also mandatory reporters for protective services and should familiarize themselves with the reporting requirements for the Adult Protective Services, or APS, program. CAC 70-2010 and the Older Adult Protective Services Act, OAPSA, suspected abuse, neglect, and exploitation should be reported by calling 1-800-490-8505.
Okay, we have some time for questions. If you have any questions, please use the question function on the webinar. We have a couple questions already. If a person is over 60 and does not want to transfer to the aging waiver, do they have to? Can they remain in the Act 150 program? If a person is over 60 and becomes eligible for the aging waiver, they are to be transferred to the aging waiver to continue to get their services. The other question is somewhat related. If a person is under 60 and does not want to transfer to the attendant care waiver, do they have to? Again, if the person is under 60 in the Act 150 program and becomes eligible for a waiver and possibly the attendant care waiver, they are to be transferred to the attendant care waiver or appropriate waiver. Those are all the questions that we have at this time. Okay, we just received another one. We'll take a look at that one. I just wanted to mention that the PowerPoint and this webinar and FAQs will be located on OLTL's website. That should be out in 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm going to put everyone on hold for a moment and review the questions that have just come in. Okay, it seems that I answered that question that we just got in related to the materials that'll be available. Since we don't have any other questions coming in, if you do have any questions in the future, you may use the address that's on the screen right now, the resource account address in the lower left-hand corner on this slide. And we thank you for your participation in the webinar. Have a good day.